Welcome back to the channel. Drew here. It's been 1 year since I took delivery of my Ford Maverick, and I'm going to give you a yearly review. I'm also going to explain to you why the Maverick is actually better than we thought it was going to be. And I'm also going to tell you some issues with constraints as far as Ford actually delivering these vehicles. It may go worse than 22, not better than 22. Let's talk about it. Let's jump right in. Alright guys, look, you can get a yearly review of the truck in a lot of different places. So my review is going to be a little bit different. I want to talk about does the Maverick live up to the expectations that I set on it? Remember, I said some pretty strong things when this vehicle was in production and when it actually came out. I said that this vehicle, possibly, if you purchased one of the early Mavericks, it's possible you could have this vehicle for 10 years and it would not depreciate a penny. In other words, if you spent $20,000 or $21,000 on one of the early Mavericks, 10 years later, it's possible that the Maverick could be worth the same as you paid for it, which is really unbelievable. I also said that it's the best value of any vehicle on the auto market. That's a pretty hard thing to do. Of the hundreds and thousands of vehicles that you can purchase, this is the best deal. But I'm here to tell you today that after a year of owning not one but two of the Mavericks, that the Maverick is actually better than we originally thought it was. And I have two very strong examples of it, and I'm going to tell you why. So the first one is very simply, I don't typically, in my line of work, my business, I don't typically keep vehicles for a long time. I usually keep them for, 2 years usually is a long time for me. Every once in a while, I'll get a vehicle I really like and I'll keep longer than that. I had my original Model 3 for almost 3.5 years, 4 years, and that's about as far as I go as far as vehicles. And the reason is very simple. New technology comes out, better vehicles come out, and it's more interesting to me, and I trade up. I think I will I'll keep a Maverick truck, some type of Maverick truck, probably for the next 10 years in one shape or form. It doesn't mean it's going to be the same vehicle, but I think it's that good of a vehicle. And we've already talked about why it's a great vehicle, okay? First of all, it's super economical, and it's super efficient, and it's super practical, and it's super affordable. All those things. But I'm going to tell you that it's actually better than we thought it was after a year. And the reason is that, first of all, I've actually had my first service on the vehicle. So a lot of the newer vehicles, you can go 6,000 miles, 7,500 miles, sometimes 10,000 miles. And there's some manufacturers that are actually pushing their oil changes all the way to 15,000 miles, and I've even seen more than that. Oil change for the Ford Maverick is 10,000 miles. And we're going to focus mostly on the hybrid because that's what I've had for the last years. I've had two hybrids. And I sold one of them, I kept another one, and I'll continue to keep one for a very long time. But the service interval is 10,000 miles. It's great because you can do the oil change and the tire rotation at the same time. But, I got to 10,000 miles and I was still at like 16% according to the computer on how much I had, range of oil change. Most new modern cars, the computer will actually tell you when it's time to change the oil. If we trust the truck's computer, we possibly could go to 12,000 miles or more depending on how you drive the vehicle. And it actually makes sense that it's probably okay because the battery of the vehicle is doing, 15 to 20% of the actual miles of the vehicle without the engine running. So that adds more value to the operating costs of the Maverick. We've already talked about like brake pads. When you have a hybrid system, brake pads can last a long, long time. And so your service intervals, your brake pads, all the maintenance on the vehicle is very, very low for the Ford Maverick hybrid, extremely low. In addition to that, obviously Ford, it is a domestic product, a domestic vehicle. Even parts that you have to get should be pretty inexpensive, especially once they start selling hundreds of thousands of these things. And so the vehicle is going to be extremely low cost to maintain. It really is a modern day Toyota Prius. I'm not saying that as far as reliability. We don't know yet. I think it's very possible that it could be one of the most reliable vehicles that Ford makes. We'll find out. There are some minor build issues. There has been some recall issues, but no major, breakthroughs on how is the engine and that stuff going to hold up. So I'm not saying that. But as far as the modern day efficient, it's a little truck version of a Prius, and that's what it is. Now, I'm going to also give you a case study here. So I wanted to do an example. I wanted to compare what the cost would be comparing my Maverick to another vehicle. Do you know what the most efficient vehicle pretty much on the planet is? Mainstream production vehicle? I do, because I own one, and it's called the Tesla Model 3 standard range rear-wheel drive. Okay, the weight on the vehicle is less than a long range because of the battery, and the rear-wheel drive over the all-wheel drive is more efficient, and you already have the Tesla Model 3 platform, which is one of the most aerodynamic vehicles on the planet. When you combine all three of those together and Tesla's battery technology advantage, it makes the Tesla Model 3 standard range rear-wheel drive one of the most efficient, if not the most efficient vehicle on the planet, mainstream vehicle. I'm not talking about like an Aptera type of a custom vehicle, but the main vehicle that you can actually go out and buy. It's the most efficient vehicle on the planet. So I did a case study. I wanted to see how does the Maverick Hybrid, which I own, and a Model 3 standard range rear-wheel drive, how do they stack up on a long-range trip? So I did this just 2 weeks ago. I took a trip. I had to take my daughter to my aunt's house, and I went from Baltimore to Lynchburg, Virginia, and the trip is about 426 miles. It's perfect because the Maverick range, hybrid range on a full tank of gas is about 450 miles. So I literally could go from here to Lynchburg, Virginia and back on one tank of gas. And so it was very easy for me to calculate. I did the trip. The cost of the gallon of gas was $3.29. When I returned, I put in one tank of gas and it was $39 and change, okay? So then 1 week later, when I needed to go pick up my daughter, and again, she was staying at her aunt's house for spring break, I took my Tesla Model 3. And I really thought there's no way the Maverick could actually compete with that type of vehicle. I mean, we're talking about Tesla optimal, modified, regen, the best batteries in the business, the most aerodynamic vehicle. Even the Maverick is a decent vehicle compared to aerodynamically compared to like my Ford Lightning, right? But it's nothing close to a Tesla Model 3. So I did the Tesla, same exact trip, same exact miles, 426 miles. It's a standard range, so I don't have the 300 plus miles. My range is about 260 range. So I actually had to stop 3 times on the trip. And here is the cost at Tesla supercharger stations. The first one was $10.56. The second one was $16. The third one was $13.26. Now, the average cost of my kilowatts was 32 cents at these Tesla superchargers. Now, Tesla's opened up their charging to other things, and they're actually charging substantially more than that, 40 cents plus. Electrify America is like 40 cents plus every time that I've charging. So, but even at the Tesla supercharging stations, the average price per kilowatt is around 32 cents, and that's about what mine was on this trip here. Now, when you add those up, the exact cost that it cost me to drive and charge externally, the Tesla Model 3 is $39.82. Almost exactly to the penny what the Maverick was to drive. So, what does that mean? Well, what that means is the Ford Maverick Hybrid can actually compete externally with the most efficient vehicle on the planet financially. So if I own both of these vehicles and I want to go on an 8-hour trip, you know, I have the choice to decide. I don't have to decide based on how much it's going to cost me. The cost is almost identical. If I want to drive and the benefit is the autopilot system, be more relaxed in my driving, I can drive a Tesla and it's exactly the same cost as it would to drive my Maverick truck. But I'm gonna have to stop a couple times to charge. But if I value the ability to not have to stop and charge, then I can drive the truck and it would cost me the exact same amount it would my Tesla. Now, I understand what people are gonna say. Obviously, if you charge the Tesla at your house, the kilowatt rate goes to about half of that, around, in my area, about 16 to 17 cents a kilowatt. And so the Tesla as a daily driver is cheaper. That's why the Tesla is my daily driver. So, but goes to show that the Maverick is, actually a lot better than we even thought it was going to be, which is really hard to do. The Ford Mavericks, the hybrids especially, are going to continue to hold their value very, very strongly. I'm also a big fan of the Tremor. I have a 23 hybrid, another hybrid coming, and a Maverick Tremor coming. I'm excited about both of those, and those vehicles are going to really hold their value very, very well. The reason is Ford is having production issues. If you're not aware of this, they're still having severe production issues, especially of the hybrids. I've read a very credible report that said 76% of the Maverick orders that they took in that 5-day windows in 2023, 76% were hybrids. Ford only wants to make 35% of the trucks the hybrid variation. So the hybrids are going to be still very difficult to get a hold of if you're not planning ahead like I've been teaching. They're going to hold their value very long until there's some type of competition, and we'll talk about that. There are some reports of some other manufacturers making a similar vehicle. We'll keep you updated on that. But the bottom line is Ford Maverick Hybrid, it's better than we thought, and it's going to hold its value long term very, very well. And that's all I have for you today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this is helpful, and stay tuned for more to come. Thank you.